Hi guys, and welcome to the channel. Hillbilly Military Modeling here, and this will be the final installment of our M4A3 Sherman with the 105mm Howitzer by Tamiya. This is the weathering portion and also the final reveal. So to get started, we're going to use these products right here for our weathering effects. So the first thing we need to do is to apply this Vallejo thick mud. Now this is an acrylic based product, and so I'm going to be using this real stiff stippling brush, and that's going to allow us to control this thick acrylic paste and get it where we want it. So I'm just building up areas where mud's going to collect. And right here I'm working on this rear bracket for our idler. Now the important thing to remember with this water-based acrylic is that it's going to dry really fast, so we're going to have to clean our brush often so that it doesn't gum up the brush too much and we start to lose control of our placement. Since this is a fast drying acrylic product, you're going to want to clean it off of anything that you get it on that you don't want it on. For instance, if you get it on the road wheels, on the rubber parts, you're going to want to take that off really fast, okay? Don't wait. It will set up as hard as concrete. And it will come off. You just got to use a Q-tip. You can see I have my Q-tips and some water, just standard tap water, and a wet Q-tip, and you can just wipe it away. So you can see here we're just stippling it onto the hull, into the lower portion there, and that'll give us some texture for our weathering products that we're going to use later. So the tracks are going to throw mud up around the front of the vehicle, so I'm just going to stipple it on here and just around the front of the vehicle. So as our track comes around, it's going to be dropping mud on top of our bogies. So I'm just going to use a toothpick here and carefully place mud right on top of the bogies and on top of the brackets and also the road wheel arms. And this will give us the effect of the mud falling from the track and coming down. That looks pretty good. Also, don't forget to do the drive sprocket. The center portion of the drive sprocket is where the most mud and debris is going to fall, so we need to go ahead and place that in there. And it tends to pack up around our idler, so we're going to go ahead and put the mud on the idler as well. Now the back side of this idler is going to be seen from the rear of the vehicle, so don't forget to add the acrylic mud to the back if you so choose to use acrylic mud. So that looks pretty good. And we're going to be using the enamel products over top of this. So with the same theme being carried on with the rest of the vehicle, and remember, everything needs to look kind of unison, so we need to go ahead and add our acrylic mud to the road wheels. And it is a tedious process. And here I've gotten a little bit on the wear edge of the rim of the road wheel, so I'm using a wet Q-tip to get it off. And that's what we ended up with. I did the back side of the road wheels too. So next we're going to use this AK Interactive Dark Mud. Now this is an enamel based product, so we're going to want to make sure that the thick mud that we applied is fully dry before we start this portion of the weathering. And what I'm doing is I'm going to put this dark mud in on the low portion of the hull and around the final drive. And I also do it around the edges of the road wheels. Just getting it in there. And we're going to apply it to the front of the vehicle. Now I don't apply it all over the thick mud that we applied before. We're going to come in with a lighter color and just do the edges with the lighter color. Enamels are really easy to blend and they're easy to remove if you do make a mistake. But you know, it's mud, so it shouldn't really be a problem. Mud tends to get everywhere. So next we're going to use the lighter color, which is the Earth Effects from AK. And I'm just going to hit the high spots with the light color. Now I do wait until the previous product has dried completely, that would be the dark mud, before I start adding the Earth Effects, which is the lighter shade. And we're going in above the dark color and adding it onto the lower hull. And we also come into the center of our road wheels and add the lighter color. A good rule of thumb is whatever you do to one portion of the vehicle, carry that theme through to the rest of the vehicle and the rest of your parts. And that'll make it look a lot more natural. So we're going in and we're going to apply this to the acrylic mud that we've got on top of our bogies. And also down where the mud has fallen onto those control arms for the road wheels. Now after that's dried, we're going to come in with this Testors enamel thinner. And we're going to blend this hard line that we've got here on our lower hull. And that's where the dark mud meets the Earth Effects. When you're doing weathering, real hard lines don't look natural. And so we're going to get rid of that by just lightly blending it. This is a really soft brush. You don't want to really scrub because these enamel weathering products will come off really easy. So this side we got blended, and this side I have yet to blend, and you can see the hard line. And we're just going to blend that out. So we got some thinner, and we're also going to use our Earth Effects here. And we're going to mix these together. And what we're doing is we're thinning out this wash so that it flows really, really easy. And it's about a 50-50 mix. You can kind of play around with it. What I have found with these AK enamel washes is the more you thin them, then when it dries on the vehicle, the dustier it looks up to a certain point. And here we're applying it to the inside of the track. And you can just wash the entire track with this, which is what we end up doing here. Making sure that we get it into and allowing it to collect into all of these little grooves and the chevron pattern on the rubber track shoes. We want to make sure that it gets in around all that. And we're also going to use the exact same wash and apply it to the rubber portions of our road wheels. And it's going to flow really easy. So a lot of times it's better to dab than it is to brush and let it flow. So while we were doing our road wheels, that gave us plenty of time for our tracks to dry. And once they're completely dry, we'll just take a cotton bud again, a little bit of enamel thinner. I'm going to dab a little bit of that off, it's a little too wet. And we're just going to clean off right on the chevron portion of the rubber track pads. And that'll allow the paint detail that we applied in the previous video to show up. It looks pretty good, so yeah, we're going to go with that. So once the tracks have fully dried, we'll just go ahead and install those. And this will ensure that the rest of our weathering process is very unison between the tracks and the rest of the vehicle. Now make sure that you install these tracks going in the right direction. The chevrons from the front of the vehicle need to be pointing down towards the ground, okay? Trust me, if you get your tracks on backwards, the Sherman guys will jump all over you. So you don't want them to do that. So we do have a little issue here. These being rubber band type tracks, they kind of spring away from our support rollers. So I'm going to take a cocktail stick, and in hillbilly terms that's called a toothpick. So we're going to press the tracks down over the rollers. And I come back in later with, once I get it adjusted just like I want it, I come back in and use some, just some Tamiya extra thin just to kind of hold it in place. I want to glue them to the rollers and to the top of the idler and the top teeth of the drive sprocket. That way the track maintains that profile. So we're still using the earth effects thinned, and I want to make sure that the pigments are well suspended in the thinner, so I'm making sure that it's really mixed up really good. And we're going to use this as a light wash over the horizontal surfaces of the vehicle. And we're just dabbing it on and letting it run. So we're going to just place it and let it spread out. With it being as thin as it is, if you want to come back in later and add more, that's easily done. Just to add more pigment. Since it's an enamel based product, we can come back in later and we can add our rain effects, our streaking. You just want to make sure that you get enough product in place. And so I go back to the bottle, and I'm using it straight out of the bottle right here because I need it just a little bit thicker in certain spots. We're going to blend that, but we need more pigment in certain areas. So now I've cleaned my brush, and we're coming in with the enamel thinner, and we're adding our streaking effects, and we're just going to blend this and streak it across the gun mantlet here and the front of the turret and up and down the sides. So So I washed the sides with the thin mixture as well before I started this part. I don't think I said that before, but I'm just grabbing some pigments from up above and bringing them down. And here we're going to start blending these horizontal surfaces. And I'm using a stippling motion. Now this is a real soft brush, so I know it looks like I'm really going at it, but it's really, really light. We're going to add the same mixture to our bogies. And then we come in with our thinner. And you can see I'm dabbing it off of the brush. I don't want it too wet. And we're just going to streak our bogies with it. Now once our weathering has dried, it's time to start looking at our stowage. So what we're going to do here is start placing our stowage on the vehicle. And I want to do a dry fit first and arrange the items so that they look, what's the word I'm looking for? Like organic. This is the kind of thing, this is where the soldiers would put it, and this is how it's going to look on the vehicle. Have a little trouble with this piece. It wants to roll away. So we kind of have a space. You can see right here. So I'm gonna fill that with an ammo can. Soldiers would utilize as much space as possible on the vehicle to carry everything they felt that they needed. With the front stowage all glued down, it's time to use a little bit of this medium CA glue, super glue. And the reason why I'm going to use this is because our tow cable, if you remember from our build video, it's made out of copper. So super glue or CA glue is the only thing that's really going to attach it and make it secure to the vehicle. So we get it positioned and pressed down where we want it. Try not to touch the glue. So we actually need to secure it in a couple of places. I'm going to put a little CA underneath it right here and attach it to the front hull. I'm going to do the same thing with the tow loop on the end. And we're going to add just a little bit to the rear of the vehicle and secure the cable there. So moving on to the rear of the vehicle here, on this stowage shelf that's on the back of the Sherman, I'm going to use this Tamiya thick glue, and we're just going to glue down our ammo cans. Kind of want them in a random arrangement, kind of like they're being jostled around with the vehicle moving and everything. So I'm going to put a little tilt to this one can and this one on an angle. We're going to come in later and kind of tie this together with a rope, if I can get it to sit like I want it. These things always happen whenever the camera's rolling. Here I've arranged the stowage on the rear of the engine deck. Now we got two tie down points, these two lifting eyelets here for the vehicle, and we're going to pass our rope through those. So I want to make sure before I glue everything down that it kind of lines up and it makes sense with my ideal of tying it down. So once I've glued all that in place, while the glue's drying, I'm going to use this streaking grime by AK Interactive. And we're going to put fuel spots and oil spots, little drips and dribbles across the rear deck here. We want our vehicle to look used and serviced, you know, so the soldiers have been filling it up with fuel and dropping oil, and these little areas get a little grimy. And it's an enamel based product too, so we can blend it if we need to. So next up is this thread. It's a tan thread. The soldiers would have used a hemp style rope back in World War II, so I'm going to tie our ammo cans in using this. I'm just going to run it across the back. That adds a little bit of detail to the vehicle. Also, we're going to tie down all of our stowage on the back of the vehicle. And you're going to want the rope to be somewhere where it makes sense. And that's why we took that extra precaution before we glued everything down, to make sure that the rope that's in front is going to go through, say, the handles of the fuel can that's setting up right. And right about here, I just broke that, I think. Yep. So I'm going to have to glue that back down. So here we have our rope all tied off where we want it. But it's a little bit bright, so we're going to come in with this Tamiya brown panel liner. It's also an enamel product, so it will wick along and through this rope here, and that'll make it dirtier, giving it a weathered and used look. And so since it does wick through this cotton thread, you got to kind of apply it a couple of times. I think I went back over it like 3 times just to get the look I wanted. Now it's time for our final detail. What we're missing is an antenna for our radio. So we're going to use stretch sprue for that. So this is a T-light. And we're just going to heat the plastic up, and we're going to start to stretch the sprue out. Now the speed in which you stretch your sprue is going to determine how thick the piece of stretch sprue is. So if you want it thicker, stretch it slower, and if you want it thinner, stretch it faster. You got to kind of play around with this and do it a few times, and you'll get the hang of it. So once that's done, I go ahead and use super glue. I cut it to length, of course, and we super glue it on, and we're going to paint it. And I put a little bit of the earth effects on it as well, so that it blends nicely with the tank. So with that, let's just go ahead and enjoy this slideshow and take a look at the vehicle, what we were able to accomplish. I really enjoyed this project, guys. I hope you enjoyed the videos. Now I've got to go find something else to build. So I guess that will wrap it up for this one. And a big thank you to all my subscribers. I really appreciate your support. And if you're not a subscriber, but you like what you see in these videos, why not subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss out when I post a new video. If you like this video, do me a little favor and hit that like button. That kind of helps me out with the YouTube thing. As always, feel free to leave me a comment in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. So I'm gonna go find something else to build, and in the meantime, you guys stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.